The 173rd Airborne Brigade arrived in South Vietnam from Okinawa as the 1st Army unit deployed there in June of 1965. Operations commenced immediately throughout the central South Vietnam to seek out and engage Viet Cong forces. While there were a number of minor engagements, there had been no major force-to-force contacts until Operation Hump that took place from the 5th to the 9th of November in 1965. It was named Hump because it represented the halfway point of our year-long deployment. The 1st Battalion Airborne, 503rd Infantry of the 173rd, was the only infantry battalion engaged in the actual fighting. At the time, I was serving as the battalion's adjutant, and I was not in the action. Our mission was to conduct a search and destroy operation in an area with a heavy concentration of enemy forces known as War Zone D. The plans called for the battalion to find, fix, and destroy or capture Viet Cong personnel, supplies, and equipment. The 1st of the 503rd launched an air assault into War Zone D on the 5th, conducted patrolling operations on the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie companies commenced patrolling again at first light on the 8th. About 0800, Charlie Company's 1st platoon made contact with an enemy patrol, and a firefight ensued. With the patrol was Specialist 5th Class Lawrence Joel, the company medic whose exploits are part of the Big and Rich song. Within minutes, Charlie's 2nd platoon, on a separate azimuth, came across an enemy camp that was fresh. Their pursuit ran into a buzzsaw of heavy machine gun fire, claymores, and grenades. Niles Harris, about whom the Big and Rich song was written, went down with every member of his squad. With Charlie Company was the battalion's new chaplain, Jim Hutchins, who had literally joined our unit as it was lifting off the helipad on the 5th. He was with 2nd Platoon as it began to disintegrate around him. In a battlefield irony, I learned 10 days later that Jim and I had grown up 3 blocks apart in Kokomo, Indiana. Hutchins, close to Lawrence Joel throughout the battle, has this memory of him. His actions were nothing short of fantastic. Wounded twice in the right leg himself, he hobbled about in the thickest fighting to administer life-preserving aid to his fallen comrades. He crammed battle dressings into sucking chest wounds, jabbed morphine syrettes to comfort those already drunk with pain, gave mouth-to-mouth resuscitation among blood and vomit as he breathed life into the near dead. Every medic out there acquitted himself like a man, but this one was made of superior stuff. He had that indefinable quality that separates the great from the near great. Many a man on Hill 65 on November 8th can look back and say with pride that he's alive today because of the selfless gallantry of Specialist 5th Class Lawrence Joel. Lawrence's Medal of Honor citation begins, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty, Specialist 5th Joel demonstrated indomitable courage, determination, and professional skill when a numerically superior and well-concealed Viet Cong element launched a vicious attack which wounded or killed nearly every man in the lead squad of the company." Lawrence's citation ends with these words, "Specialist 5th Joel's profound concern for his fellow soldiers at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty are in the highest traditions of the U.S. Army and reflect great credit on himself and the armed forces of his country." Charlie Company was isolated in small groups, unable to maneuver as a unit, each group fighting for its life against superior enemy forces. Fortunately, Bravo Company had not been so engaged and became the deciding force in the battle to rescue Charlie Company and prevail in the battle. Lowell Bittrick, Bravo's commander, proved brilliant in his ability to attack, defend, and counterattack. His application of artillery and aviation support was crucial in the fight. Later in the day, Alpha Company was committed in their attack in a vulnerable location of the enemy, continued to turn the battle back into the favor of our paratroopers. By late afternoon on the 8th, the fighting was largely over, but not the recovery. On the ground were 48 dead paratroopers and another 83 with various wounds. The battlefield in War Zone D had taken place in triple canopy jungle, towering 200 feet into the air. There was no easy way to extricate our dead and wounded. But unknown to us, there was a war photographer making his first visit to a battlefield, and he had a solution. Chuck Keene was an Alaskan bush pilot and jack of all trades with a skill set that would prove miraculous. He went to our battalion commander, described his skills, requested 24 chainsaws and additional C4 explosives. When the equipment arrived on a sling, he went to work with his lumberjack skills. He'd notch 4 trees, fell one, and all 5 would come tumbling to the ground. Paratroopers would cut up the fallen trees, and soon we began to have a vertical column emerging through the 200 feet of canopy. Late on the night of the 8th, the column of air was large enough for a Huey to make a vertical descent for the recovery of our dead and wounded. Early on the 9th, that recovery operation took place until we had accounted for all of our paratroopers. The remainder of our battalion was extracted late on the afternoon of November 9th. As you might surmise, there are countless stories of courage and heroism surrounding the paratroopers of the 1st Battalion Airborne, 503rd Infantry, in Operation Hump. Suffice to say that our casualties were grievous. Nonetheless, we left 403 enemy dead on the battlefield by body count and gained a historic victory. You can read a superb account of the battle in Al Canetto's book, The Hump, the 1st Battalion, 503rd Airborne Infantry, and the first major battle of the Vietnam War. We are also most grateful to Big and Rich for capturing the heroism of our paratroopers in their song, the 8th of November.